My name is Dave Sheegog, and welcome to my home, which is also the home of the Castle Peak and Thunder Railroad. It's a Disney-themed backyard railroad, and today is October 29th, 2020, and this is the Weird Homes tour of the Castle Peak and Thunder Railroad. So let's get started. This open house is a little different than most in that there's normally lots of people here, but this virtual open house is basically just me walking around with a cell phone camera. I hope that we can capture this well enough for you. We've got a trolley coming along this side yard here. This goes out to the front yard to pick up our 3.5-inch high visitors and bring them into the railroad. Before we pass up our skyway, this is a miniature version of the Von Roll Skyway that was opened at Disneyland in 1956. And the cups that we chose to replicate are the 2-passenger cups. Those were later replaced with 4-passenger cups, which are the ones I remember in the 60s as a child. But I thought the 2-passenger cups would look better for our version here. But this was built by Robbie Von Roll. Anyway, we've got actually a builder's plaque here. And Robbie is of the same Von Roll family of the Von Rolls that built the original Skyway for Disneyland back in 1956. So anyway, as we walk along, we'll pass things here. There's 101 Dalmatians, and many children, when they come here, do count them. There are 72, they're not 101, but it's close enough for effect. Okay, here's our sign-in table, but since there's no one to sign in, we don't have the sign-in books here, but this is what most guests will receive when they come. First here, it's a little souvenir handout, and this is a Scavenger Hunt, which lists all of the classic Disney animated films, starting with Snow White, and this particular one goes up through Moana, and has all the Pixar animated films, starting with Toy Story, and goes up through Coco. And the object for kids is to try and find all of the films that are depicted somewhere on the railroad. So I'll point out some of them as we walk along, and also give you some history of some of the things that we've done over the years here. So this is our Adventureland area, and so here are our Jungle Book characters. We'll come around to the front, and here's Indiana Jones taking on a bad guy. And here's actually Miriam down here with her trusty frying pan, getting ready to take on a bad guy. Snake sculptures, and lots of waterfalls and bamboo. Down the corner, here we have the Incredibles taking on Syndrome. Come around the corner, and here we've got Snow White's Grotto. Now we come down to Main Street Station. Hoping with this lighting we can actually shoot this. But anyway, we've got back here in the back, we have our castle, our little hub with a partner statue. Over to the left, we have a Haunted Mansion. Oh, there goes E.P. Ripley and the yellow coaches. And up on our wall mural, we have 3 movies here. This was WALL-E. This whole wall is a fiber optic wall, which at night is quite fun to watch. Here's Aladdin and Jasmine, and over here is Treasure Planet. Now coming down here into the Haunted Mansion, we have Jack Skellington in the back. Here we have some hitchhiking ghosts heading into the mansion. Oh, can't miss that little plaque. Fun one to build. And over here we have our characters from Coco. Little Hearst. And up above here we have Splash Mountain. There's our little characters from Song of the South coming down the waterfall. And we have a old mill here. And then Sleeping Beauty Castle, which we've got a story to tell on that. Oh, and here's what we call the Princess Convention going on down here on the drawbridge. And the compass. Okay, we see all our trains are running smoothly today. Oh, our engineer today is Justin King. Say hello, Justin. Justin does a great job keeping the trains running smoothly during open houses. And there he goes. Down here we've got, there are two Winnie the Pooh movies, so this one is a birthday party going on for Winnie the Pooh. Uh-oh, here goes CK Holiday and the freight train. And this one was a fun one to build too. I'll show you some pictures of that in just a minute. Okay, here we have Merida from Brave and the monoliths around Brave. It's an interesting story how we made those. Here we have our Lion King portion. There's proud parents Simba and Nala and their little cub, and Pumbaa and Simone, or excuse me, Pumbaa and Timon back there, and Scar in the very background. And here are all their animals, subjects gathered for the celebration. In the back there we can see Atlantis. Oh, there goes Casey Jr. And up on the top here we can see we have Hercules battling that centaur. Oh, and we have Mickey up on the very top. Over here we have the good dinosaur. And across the way there are our friends from Atlantis. Down on the beach, there's Moana and Maui, along with their canoe. And here in the front we have Aladar and his friends from the 2000 movie called Dinosaur. And now along the railroad tracks there's Bolt, a short fun film. And now some classics. We have Alice in Wonderland, Queen of Hearts, Cheshire Cat, White Rabbit. Oh, and you can't forget Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And the cottage was brought in this past year and got a new roof and refurbishment. Back to Bambi. And there's Rapunzel and Flynn Rider, another couple in the background. And Rapunzel's Tower. Up under the trees here, there's Pocahontas and John Smith. Some Indian teepees. Here it is up on the back wall. We have the house from Up, being carried off with the balloons. And there's Mr. Fredrickson. And let's see, do we have? Try and zoom in there a little better. There we are. Here's our characters from Up and the dogs. Where are they? There they are. There goes Casey Jr. This is one of my favorites, Winnie the Pooh and the honey tree, trying to find his honey. This is a 104-year-old Japanese elm, at least that's what I was told when I purchased it, and it is our prized bonsai. And here are the darling children, Wendy, John, and Michael, flying above Neverland. We meet up with Peter Pan. He's spinning a tall tale to the mermaids. We're back again. There we have the little mermaid, Ariel, with Dad, King Triton. He's coming up to reprimand her and take her back down to the deep. And just over to next to them are Marlin and Dory. And up on the beach, who do we have? But Prince Eric and his dog. Yep, and up in the corner also on the beach is Olaf from Frozen singing In Summer. What do we have? Oh, up here we have Belle's Village. We'll show you a little bit about that. Show you a little bit about that in just a minute. And then up on the hill, there we have Beast Castle. Beast Castle is the largest structure on the railroad, and I wanted this version of it to be customized for our family. We're a family of musicians, so I thought that the angel cherubs could be musicians also. Now we have a trumpet player, a viola player, a singer, a violin player, and a cello player, all to reflect our family. And as you would expect, it is lit at night, and the ballroom has its own crystal chandelier and Versailles ceiling painting. Many people ask what is the process I go through to build something like this. It started out as a statue we purchased from Disneyland. From that I made a digital model of it, and off of that cut the walls from precision board, made all the windows and detail pieces out of ABS plastic that were printed on a 3D printer that I purchased specifically for this project. The base was built by helpers. That was Don Bigelow, myself here painting a portion of it. Here's John Rayburn adding his magical touch to the final finished coat of paint. We built the base, added the rock features, and piece by piece it grew in the garage and then finally was hoisted up on top of its rock platform to the position it is in today. As you've probably guessed, the locomotives and rolling stock were all custom built for this railroad. The 5 locomotives of the Disneyland Railroad are each reproduced, as well as the yellow coaches, which were known as Redlaw 1, and the freight train. Brass turnings were custom made, paint jobs were all done with automotive paints, and the windows were all custom made also. The freight train was made out of acrylic material with metal fittings and hardwood benches. I'm going to come over to this side of the yard. We have a display of the Carolwood Pacific Railroad. This was built by Walt Disney at his home on Carolwood was the name of the street that he lived on. And you can see this little collage we put together on the top. This is Walt Disney showing off his caboose, which he hand built at his studio. He had the other ones built by his machinist, but there he is riding on his little ride-along steam locomotive. And this is a replica of the caboose, the consist, and of the Lilybell, which was the name of the locomotive. And here are our fairy gardens. They all feature Tinkerbell. There she and her friend are listening to a story. There's some of her friends out by the mushrooms. Here they are getting ready to go through a gate into a secret garden. And once inside the garden, here's a little water feature. Oh no, up here we have some little items featured. Oh, there's Remy from Ratatouille with his whole gang. Oh, and there's the little sign for the restaurant. And if we come down a little lower, we'll see our friends from Inside Out. And Bing Bong, don't forget him. And here is Mulan out in the garden. And we're back to the Skyway and going back out to the front yard. Well, that just about does it for our walking tour, but I did promise you a few behind the scenes and previews of coming attractions. So let's see what we've got for you. There are so many things that we could include in a behind the scenes video, so I decided just to limit it to a few photos of the early days when we started construction. And that's my 27-year-old daughter when she was 6 years old. This was back in 1999. There's the castle where it used to be placed. It was up on the hill. But I thought there's so many other things that we could talk about, like times when we've had to tear everything apart and rebuild it, such as this photo that shows the relocation of Sleeping Beauty Castle. A lot of people ask, how do we store things and maintain things? Here's a photo of how we keep the figures in order, and also maintenance on the railroad. We always have to deal with little varmints and visitors, but that's it for now. Here's a brief recap of how we built Belle's Village. Started with some cardboard cutouts set out next to the old castle to get the scale right. We then cut out plywood sides and put them together and put a good coat of Varathane on it to keep them waterproof. Then I cut out the trim work out of basswood and whittled the edges to make them look kind of weathered and old, and applied those with a pin nailer and a weatherproof glue. We then put a lead roofing to form the roof structures and assembled all the pieces, as you can see here. We put Gaston in there just to make sure our scale was staying true, and then punched a lot of holes in it that would hold the Magic Sculpt stucco material. Here the Magic Sculpt is being applied. That's a two-part resin epoxy. We also made shingles individually out of Magic Sculpt. Applied those, and then here's our finished product, all painted up. So once prototype was made, we made the other buildings. Some of them had forms that needed to be turned on a lathe. As you see here, the little cone-shaped roofs. Then we made all the trim pieces out of basswood. There were lots of them. And more lead roofing was applied. The lead was used because it was heavy, would keep the buildings from blowing away, and is also very malleable, so you get curved, cartoony looking roofs. Here are the shingles being applied with a weatherproof glue, and we made all the little signs and put those in place. And here you can see the flower shop, and there is the pub, and the last one is the bookseller. The base was made out of precision board, and of course we had to have a fountain, and to make the fountain look complete, I made water out of hot melt glue, and here was our finished product. And of course we put lights in the fountain so that at night it would look like a lit up fountain. And there we have our finished Belle's Village. Well, here's our next big project. It's going to be a replica of the mine train through Nature's Wonderland, the town of Rainbow Ridge, although I'm going to be modeling it as Big Thunder Boomtown, and the Rainbow Caverns. And so this is the area of the yard that it's going to be built in, and we have a study model of it being constructed right here that it's in progress right now, so don't look too closely because there's a lot of things that are currently being changed on it. But it will have the Casey Jr. line as well as the new mine train line. On the outside, a whole lot of waterfalls, and that's going to be Cascade Peak up at the top of it. But then I think the most special thing about this exhibit is going to be, as you walk around the corner of the house, there will be what looks like a little building. That's going to be an entrance to a mine shaft. And when you go inside, there's our little scale figures again. It's going to appear like you're inside a tunnel in a mine, and you'll be observing the Rainbow Caverns. Here is our Big Thunder Boomtown under construction. It's about 90% completed in the garage, just waiting for its setting to be built. It's all made out of precision board with details in ABS plastic. And here are some study models of the inside of Rainbow Caverns, all built with Magic Sculpt and painted up with blacklight paints. The final Rainbow Caverns will be all in the dark with blacklight paints and many waterfalls with colored lights. I think it'll be quite spectacular. And now here's the project that I'm most excited about. When Disneyland first opened Galaxy's Edge, my first thought was, how do I incorporate this into the backyard? My family loved everything about it, the ambience, the architecture, the food, especially the blue milk. Maybe that's because we're one of those nerdy families that dresses up and goes to Star Wars conventions. But at any rate, the thought was, how do we incorporate this into the backyard? I knew it had to be epic in scale and in every way. And so this has become the most ambitious project that the railroad has ever seen. As you can see from this digital model, it will be a sizable diorama. It will have a mural across the back wall and a retractable roof, which will allow it to transition from daytime lighting to a outdoor theater, which will allow a light show, projections of spacecraft on the rear wall, and all kinds of other special effects. We are going to have several viewing rooms. One will be for the Rise of the Resistance Star Destroyer hangar scene. Here I've started collecting my 50 stormtroopers. I've almost got all of them. We'll also have a holographic Resistance fighter, and here is the beginnings of our hologram projector. And the buildings have started to be modeled. This is Doc Ondor's Den of Antiquities. We have modeled this with ABS plastic and 3D printed stainless steel, as well as translucent plastics. And the lighting, I believe, will be quite effective on this. I hope you enjoyed today's tour. We're looking forward to having live open houses in the spring. Just go to cptrr.com and register to be notified when there are open houses. They're all free of charge, and we look forward to seeing you here live in the spring. Thank you.